Gorilla sign language. Why do gorillas only use sign language? Can they really not speak because of their anatomy? Or is this the Primate Language Research Center in cahoots with Big Deaf, so the rest of us are left in the dust come Planet of the Apes? None of this and more on In the Gorilla Brains. Have you ever heard of Koko the signing gorilla? Koko was the first gorilla to learn American Sign Language. She shocked the world with her ability to communicate with people. At her peak, Koko could sign over 1,100 words. Koko was thought to have an IQ of around 85. Koko could understand simple sentences, but her use of language wasn't perfect. For example, she would often overgeneralize the meaning of signs. When she sees anything that looks like a tube, like a ciggy, a pipe, that thing that's obviously behind the sensor bar but we can't talk about it, or a pen, she calls it a straw. When she didn't know a word for something, she would put words together to make new signs. For example, she referred to masks as eye hats and rings as finger bracelets. Since her handlers spoke when they used the signs, she also had an understanding of spoken words. When she wanted some browse, which is like a weird vegetation or something, she didn't have a sign to communicate it. She began repeatedly pointing at her brows because she knew they sounded alike, showing that she could make more complex connections in language. Isn't there like a theory where if you put infinite monkeys randomly mashing keyboards on typewriters, they would eventually produce the complete works of Shakespeare? The infinite monkey theorem. Ignoring the entire point of this exercise, trying to make an incredibly dated work that already exists is a complete waste of infinity monkeys. Do you know what I could do with infinity monkeys? Because I don't, but I bet it would be a hell of a lot cooler than what you did with your illiterate book factory. Over the course of her life, Koko has made many friends. She was apparently very sweet and friendly to most of those who came to meet her. She has had multiple pet kittens, and unlike the scarring horror scene of a gorilla turning one whole cat into two half cats like some of the team thought was inevitable, she was always nurturing and acted lovingly towards them. She never harmed a single one. She also became friends with Robin Williams and recognized him from his movie cover. I want nothing more than to be friends with a signing primate. If I could teach an orangutan how to make YouTube videos, my life would be complete and I would have content to watch for the rest of it. One of Koko's closest friends was a male gorilla named Micheal, who knew around 600 signs. Koko and Micheal had distinct personalities. While Koko was a lot happier to sign, Micheal seemed to be the silent type. When asked about his life before, he recounted what his handlers thought to be his orphaning, signing squash meat gorilla, mouth tooth, cry, sharp noise loud, bad think trouble, took face, cut neck, lip hole. All your fancy big human wordy words mean nothing because that gorilla just put the fear of God in me, hand talking like Kevin from The Office.
Why waste time? Say lot word when few word do trick.
Koko and Micheal never mated, but they did become lifelong friends. They liked to paint together. Micheal made this painting called Apple Chase, which has the same colors as his friend dog Apple, who he plays chase with. Koko created a painting called Love, where she used the colors that are commonly used by human artists to represent the same emotions. I subconsciously use the same color in my work for the exact same reason. You might say these paintings don't look very good, but what you forget is that human artists have sold literal blank canvases for $15 million. At least they're trying their very goddamn hardest. Remember that time a so-called artist taped a banana to the wall and sold it for $120,000 goddamn dollars? Guess what species did that? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't a fucking gorilla. This whole notion of human superiority really just falls apart under a microscope in my opinion. Koko conveyed legitimate emotions that many people thought were exclusively human. She would often remark Koko love to her handler and people who came to visit. When one of her pet kittens passed away, she reacted to the news by signing Cry. While Koko was a very friendly and sweet gorilla, she didn't always behave herself. Once she was talking to a reporter, and the woman apparently rubbed Koko the wrong way, and Koko said, "You toilet, do go." I think this clearly shows a sense of humor, something many people would consider uniquely human. Some scientists disagree, but if you get called a toilet by a gorilla, that gorilla undeniably roasted the living shit out of you, and it did it with a gorilla brain. That's like bringing a knife to a gunfight and winning. A tool is only as good as the individual that wields it. Who's really the lower form of intelligence? Koko also accidentally broke things a lot because when you're the size of a gorilla living in the world for things half of your size, that's bound to happen. She once caved in a countertop just from sitting on it, and when her handler questioned her about it, she signed Kate there bad, not only attempting to skirt responsibility responsibility for her actions, but also in the process calling whoever Kate was morbidly obese in a brutal wombo combo. While many people look at Koko as the intelligent, emotional creature she presents herself to be, there are still some party poopers who don't believe in her intellectual ability. These are the same jerks who insisted we put feathers on dinosaurs because it's quote-unquote scientifically accurate. Goddamn sticks in the mud ruining everyone's fun. Some people think that was an overblown example of the clever Hans effect. Hans was a horse whose owner claimed it could do math. The owner, or onlookers, would give it a math question, and Hans would tap his hooves the same amount of times as the answers. The caveat being that Hans could only do this when his handler was in his line of sight. It turns out that as far as we know, horses can't do math, and he was just reading cues from his handler's face. While he couldn't actually do math, I still think Hans is pretty damn clever. Unfortunately, Koko passed away in her sleep on Tuesday, June 19th, 2018. She was a sweet and caring gorilla. This was a gorilla that wanted to communicate and wanted to learn, and I think we should be teaching many more primates to communicate. I can honest to God say that she has done much more with her life than many humans who just sit around slowly fusing to the couch until the chip crumbs pile up to eye level and drown them. As a sentient species, do you humans not have an obligation to find out if other species have sentience as well? Acquiring language rewires the brain to be able to do so much more than it could without it. Scientists are pretty damn sure of that. Most people who don't learn a language by age 4 never do, and their brains are often very, very different from those who acquired it regularly. If Koko and Micheal acted like no ape that you have ever seen, maybe it's just because we don't know how close we are to them, and we don't know what they're capable of. If you could never get new ideas through language, would you really be as smart as you are? And that information would make Harambe all the more tragic. If you like this video, you should like, subscribe, comment, all notifications enabled on that bell. Not some of them, all of them. Not that personalized button, all of them. This ain't no joking around. We're talking robot good boy points here. Anyways, I want to thank all my cult members for always showing up to throw robot good boy points into my nose and veins, because this is the only way I stay insane anymore. I really hope you like this video. I like gorillas, they're cool. I want to talk to them. Maybe you can hear my dog barking, maybe not. I don't know where the edits are gonna be. As always, like, submit, hit the bell, and I will see you all in hell.